Good morning. Looking forward to having TCU in here, and a team that's had played very well this season in terms of what they do and how well they do it. And I know it's going to be an emotional night for us. We're saying goodbye to 10 people. 6 players, 3 managers, and 1 student trainer that have given a lot to this program. So. One last time, in front of the great fans of this state and this university. I can't say enough about what the fans have given us this year and the support. And, even through everything we went through, the fans have always been there and give us everything they had. And that's a testament to the great people of this state and the loyal people of West Virginia University. So. Excited to have one last chance to prove ourselves on the Coliseum floor and show out and represent the great people of the state, the great people of West Virginia University.
Josh, obviously struggles this year, but when you look back on the year, give me some of the positives on the court, off the court. What are you going to remember besides the struggles?
I think I'm going to remember more than anything. I mean, there's going to be certain points in anybody's life that. They got to figure out how to navigate, and you're going to find out that people have a lot more to them than what meets the eye. So it's how people handle struggles and adversity, and some of the conversations I've had throughout the course of the year with other coaches, and they're very, very complimentary, which kind of throws me off sometimes. And they'll say to me, you will learn more from this year than you will the rest of your coaching career. There's more life lessons. There's more lessons in terms of how you handle things in this 1 year, probably, and from the outside looking in, everything you've had to deal with, than you will the rest of your career. So, and not all is lost by any means. We're all trying to figure out how we're becoming the best versions of ourselves. And that's no different than me and an assistant coach or a player at the bottom of the roster fighting for minutes, or a manager that gives every single moment of his extra time to help his program be successful. Those people that don't get recognized in those thankless jobs. So from top to bottom, there's lessons to be learned. There's opportunities that we can look back and reflect and figure out, man, we navigated that. What can we take from it? Will it make us stronger, or will it, hold us down? And I choose for it to make us stronger in the end and grow from this experience.
But you were saying 6 players are walking, so I'm assuming it's going to be all seniors, not just fifth year.
Yeah, it's a crazy day in college, athletics in terms of who has more eligibility, who doesn't, who's graduating. So I think we had the same situation last year. There's several that are exhausting their eligibility between Raekwon, Jesse, Quinn, and Cook. Kerr will be graduating, and we'll have more eligibility. Pat Sumnick will be graduating. We'll have more eligibility, but they will be choosing to walk tomorrow.
And I think Quinn had said at the beginning of the year that he could still seek a medical red shirt.
Yeah, that's still a possibility.
Okay.
That's certainly something he's been having conversations with compliance and trying to do some of the figure out some of the back end work in terms of what it would take to get waiver granted for that 1 year at Iona. When I don't remember exactly how many games he played, but he played 1 extra game past that a lot of time that we re-aggravated the injury. So I think he's has looked to explore that option. I don't know. It's going to take some time to figure out whether he's going to actually have that year back or not.
That stuff usually happens after.
Typically.
To what you were saying before when Greg asked you about the guys talking to you and giving you advice, does it kind of drive home how unforgiving this sport is? Because those guys that are giving you advice are also trying to beat you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they've all, they can all look back at a year or I've said from the beginning, this wasn't this a normal challenge. This wasn't the sunshine and rainbows, get up in front of a podium and start the building process. I was put in a position that very, very few have ever been put in, and I might be a case study in that regard in terms of you tell me one other situation that was similar to this, to where, it's a late summer, you're thrown into the fire late summer and you're trying to put together a roster to compete against the best of the best and the best conference in the country in college basketball. So and I won't even go into all the challenges, and those aren't excuses. I mean, that's just reality. And so, at the end of the day, I'll probably be that case study. And there's certain people who have been interim head coaches that thrown in at different times, but the timing in which I was thrown in and the situation is unique and unlike so many others that were interim head coaches.
Almost like driving in the fog at night.
Yeah. You make your own way. You try to navigate it the best you can, and you do it with the utmost, class and integrity.
Locker room handle the struggles well? I mean, sometimes there could be a divide when losses accumulate, but do you think the players have handled it as well as they could?
Yes and no. I mean, I'd like a more consistent, disposition out of them, certainly, and I advocate for that every day when I speak to them and I read their body language. I would say, the last 2.5 minutes of the game against Texas Tech was probably as frustrated as I've been with them, and I let them know that. I felt like the kind of wind fell out of their sails, and we got 2 games left, and we got a conference tournament. So anytime I see situations like that, even in small increments, I try to address it, because that's not the way you approach life in any way. You fight to the bitter end. And so that's been my approach from day one. And so I let them know yesterday when we came back before we started getting into TCU much. And, that was one of the most disappointing, small increments of time, because it was a 6-point game with 2:20 left, and we really needed to get a stop. And we didn't get that stop, and it carried on. That mentality carried on to the next offensive possession, and it kind of fell apart from there, especially when we kind of burned all the timeouts that we had. And so we couldn't, call a timeout in that situation and check them. So,
How did you handle recruiting this year? I mean, and, were you received well, too? I mean, as far as, the uncertainty of your situation and the kind of program situation.
Well, I mean, the elephant in the room is a situation where, there is no contract. It's an interim contract. So what I have done with, I got great young assistants that are very good with creating relationships. And I've told them from the beginning, let's do nothing different than we would any other situation, whether we had a 5-year contract. We can't. We have to approach it like, we're going to be here, absolutely. So, we just continue to build relationships, and certainly we didn't go heavy after the 24 class, because majority of those are going to make that decision way before a decision is made as to whether, I continue here. So we went heavy, after the 25 class in terms of making relationships and seeing kids on the road. So knowing full good and well that the whole, in terms of the makeup of our roster, we probably have to go heavy portal again, the following year.
Getting back to the advice, is there one piece of advice you got from somebody throughout the year that you're like, yeah, that really hits home and it really applies to what I'm doing?
Yeah, one of the most respected coaches in the league, he said to me, after the game, and he was very complimentary, and he said, once you will be able to build your own program, it'll take time to where a situation to where you have all your guys, and it's not going to happen overnight, but once you get to the point you have all guys that are 100%, in your camp, in your boat, it'll take some time, but once you get that, it'll be much smoother sails.
Coach, kind of, for your opinion here, I mean, minus all the stuff that happened over the summer, once you got in to this season. If it had been a better situation, if the kids had been eligible from day one, Jesse doesn't get hurt in December, and you had kind of a chance to play with a full deck from the beginning to end, how much of a difference do you think that could have made?
It'd have been a significant difference for sure. I mean, if you're going to Italy with a full roster and you're building those relationships and you're building that chemistry in August rather than canceling that trip and trying to figure out who's going to be your last 2 or 3 pieces of your roster, and then not to mention not having a point guard. Biggest concern really going into it is that we really didn't have a backup point guard and we didn't have a backup big. And I remember from the exhibition game, it was my I think I said at halftime, my biggest concern was having Jesse in foul trouble, and then AK was our backup 5, and he was in foul trouble as well, and consequently, that was the day that AK had his medical emergency, and so he goes out for extended amount of time, and I find out that in that same time frame that our starting point guard has a 9-game suspension that was inherited from the previous institution. So we really didn't have backups for those 2 positions, and if you want to build a championship program, you got to have those positions shored up, as tight as possible. So, we had our challenges. That's a broken record, but we each and every day we try to navigate those challenges and figure out how we become the best versions of ourselves that day.
What's your message to your team for tomorrow's game against TCU?
Leave it all on the floor. A lot of people have come before you and worn this jersey, and I don't think you have to represent yourself first, your family, but you got to understand you're representing West Virginia University. And I felt like in the last 2.5, 3 minutes of that Texas Tech game, we did a very poor job doing that. And I was disappointed, and I know they were frustrated, but that's one last time to put on that jersey here in front of your home crowd. And, regret in life is that's be very painful and last forever. So never, don't hold on to regret. Leave everything you got out on the floor.
It's kind of a follow-up. I mean, you guys have obviously seen what every team in the Big 12 has to offer firsthand now. You've obviously seen past years and the good teams. The talent, it obviously takes more than talent, but talent-wise, is there enough talent on this roster? You know what I mean? I mean, did the talent match up the way you thought it would?
There's a lot of skill.
Right.
There's a lot of skill. It just depends. I mean, if you're trying to compete at this highest level of the Big 12 basketball, which it is the best conference in the country, and the talent takes time to gel as well. And it never really had that time to gel, or I was naive enough to think that it would gel immediately, and that's not really the case. But it has a lot of skill. I think that the biggest problem for us is size and strength. Size and strength in this league is critical, and I don't think we had nearly the size and strength to compete night in and night out. In a lot of ways, we had the skill. We have the shot makers, we have the guys can make the pass, but do we have the size and strength and the physicality to compete night in and night out? That was probably our biggest challenge, and depth.
Gelling is a huge X factor.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Chemistry is huge in basketball, and we all know that. And so, I think I spoke to it at one point. I think I saw, and somebody can look this up and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was like close to 10 programs that had 7+ transfers from the portal, and I think they were all on the outside looking into the NCAA tournament. So I don't think that's a coincidence. Yeah.
Just travel, I mean, obviously, after Cincinnati, do you come home? Do you go straight out to Kansas City after that? What's the
Well,
schedule?
that's an earlier game, and we will travel out on Sunday to Kansas City. But being, we have an opportunity to kind of a regional shorter flight, so we're taking a smaller plane, 30-seater out of Morgantown to go to Cincinnati. So we should get back at a very decent time, and then we'll load up with a full load of everybody we take to the conference championship on Sunday. So.
Clarksburg shuttle.
No, for once we won't do that. I think that's the first in our history.
The experience this year, all you've been through and everything, has that soured you on the profession, or has it stoked the fire? How has this year affected your view of coaching and the college game and the likes?
It hasn't soured it in any way. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's all about pouring yourself into young men that are going to become fathers, going to become husbands, and if you can have that positive impact, it goes way beyond basketball, because I mean there's a certain few that might continue to play basketball off this roster as a career, but for the most part that ball's going to stop bouncing for a lot of these guys, and what they learned and the example I feel like I gave them as a person, as a father, as a husband, and the lessons I taught them, I hope is something that carries on with them for years, after their time here at West Virginia.
Coach, you mentioned the emotional impact for your players, but for you, it might be your last time at the Coliseum for who knows how long. Have you had to process that, and have you been able to reflect at all on how tomorrow might be it for you as well?
I'm not going to put too much thought into that. It's another beautiful opportunity. I've been here 17 years and in every single capacity. So, I'm not going to let those emotions get the best of me. I'm going to take the opportunity to live in the present and be there. And I think that's something that we have a hard time in our society, is living in the present. We worry about the past and concerned about what the future is going to hold, but we forget to appreciate the present. And I got one more opportunity. I know that for sure, and I'm gonna go out there with a smile on my face.
And one more with the gelling and building chemistry. A lot of that takes place over the summer, with the workouts and everything. It's also, to me, in my opinion, it seems like that's probably what most fans overlook. That say, it's summertime and it's really not that big of a deal. I imagine you would really kind of disagree.
No, it's critical. It's critical. I mean, in today's college basketball, it's you basically be on the floor 300 and some days a year. I don't know what the exact number is, but there's only a few times to where you're off the court for more than a week at any given time, and maybe 2 weeks at the most. Maybe it'd be, I know you're required 7 days off after your final competition, but then you can get right into workouts again. And you got the 8-week period during the summer, and it's just, you're on the floor with these guys nearly year round. So yeah, I mean the chemistry is built year round. It is built in the weight room. It's built in the short individual workouts, during the spring. So, we were late to the ball game and then got thrown, a wrench in everything that we were trying to do. Every time I turned the corner, it was another wrench I'm trying to dodge.
TCU game, one on TCU. What went wrong in the TCU game in Fort Worth? How do you have to flip it around?
It kind of played into their game. You look at it, and I think they had that they're number one in the country in fast break points, and they had 18 points if I remember right, in fast break, and they scored off our turnovers, and that's what they need to do to play their game. You know, they don't play a whole lot of half-court offense. It's more let's turn you over and get downhill as fast as possible. And they got the guys to do it. And we played right into it. We didn't take care of the ball. I think if I remember right, that Texas 2 trip, you know, it's burned into my memory. I think, 59 points off turnovers in those 2 games. And so it was something we had to shore up quick. And so, trying to learn from our mistakes and figure out how we fix that at home.
Guys like Kerr, Pat, probably maybe a couple others, you say we're going to graduate. They obviously still have 1 year left. What role will you play and what decisions they'll make about their futures?
Whatever role they allow me to play, I guess, that's going to be on them at the end of the day. So I've never been the one to step in front or try to manipulate a kid in any way if he feels like he's got a better opportunity elsewhere. Case in point, Joe Toussaint felt like the better situation was Texas Tech, and I think the world of Joe Toussaint. I think the world of Jalen Bridges. They're both having great careers at Baylor and Texas Tech. So whatever that may be, if they have that conversation with me and they heed my advice, I'm happy to give it, and in whatever capacity I'm in. But I'm not gonna step in their way of making any decisions. That I've always said, it doesn't matter. If guys don't want to be there, there's no sense in fighting for them to be there. They have to want to be there each and every day. They have to want to love the game of basketball. They want to love being where they're at, or they're not going to be successful.
Anything else? Thanks.
Thank you.